Welcome to the Books and Martinis Podcast.
I'm Priya.
And I'm Mercy.
And this is your go-to book podcast,
where we lift, empower, and spotlight authors.
Grab your martini and follow along.
And don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe.
Hey, book lovers. This episode of Books and Martinis is brought to you by our wonderful sponsors. Blue Box Media, you dream it, we produce it. And Travel with Samantha Cividanes, specializing in luxury cruises. Ooh. Their support keeps the stories, authors, and conversations flowing. Don't forget to visit them and support the brands that support this podcast. Now the martinis are poured, let's get into the episode. What's up, everyone? Welcome to our podcast. I'm Priya.
And I'm Mercy. Welcome, everybody, and a big warm welcome to Megan Chance, our author of the day. Cheers.
Cheers.
We must
cheers,
drink
Megan.
for good luck before we put it down.
Salute.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great interview. We're so excited to have you on. And as Mercy said, guys, in your ears and on the screen is Megan Chance, the author of Vermilion Sea, guys. And we're holding up the book.
Yes. And
it's
if you're
cover.
Yes, if you're just listening and you are unable to see us, can I just describe the most beautiful book cover? It has the profile of a gorgeous woman with short red auburn hair and these gorgeous pearls. I was just complimenting Megan on the cover, and a black dress. And then right above her, it seems like to me, it's the ocean in the deep red kind of going into the sky. Or is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah, that's what.
Or is it all sky, or is it all ocean?
It might be all ocean, actually, and then they've just sort of done the red on the lower part. It might be all ocean, but it could be.
It could go either way.
Yeah,
it could be either way. It's beautifully done. Beautifully done.
Yes.
I love this. So, congrats on the gorgeous book cover and on the novel itself. So, Priya, tell us about Megan.
Sure. So, Megan Chance is the critically acclaimed award-winning author of several novels. Girlposse.com calls her a writer of extraordinary talent. Her books have been chosen by Amazon's Book of the Month, Borders Original Voices, and IndieBound's Book Sense. A former television news photographer with a BA from Western Washington University, Megan Chance lives in the Pacific Northwest with her husband. Welcome, Megan.
Thank you.
So happy to have you.
That was a short, sweet bio, but tell us more about you.
Well, let's see. I've written, I don't know, a lot of books, over 20, and published over 20 books. Yes, I was working. I'd always wanted to be a writer from the time I was about 6 years old. That's what I knew I wanted to do. And I sort of, when I went to college, I wanted to be an English major. And I got a D on the first English and Comp paper.
What? How dare they?
That was it. I was 18. I was like, whoa, I never, ever had a grade like that on a paper ever before. So instead of sort of saying, wow, that was my fault because I was used to like doing a paper the night before and just turning it in and like skating, I said, wow, this English program sucks and I don't want to be a part of it. This is a true story. This is a true story. I'm not exaggerating.
I believe you.
I decided I am not going to be an English major. And I started like spiraling, looking for something else to do. And I ended up in journalism, which, is adjacent, and then in broadcast communications. And I never wanted to actually be a photographer, though I had also gone into visual communications a little bit as a sideline in college. But that's kind of what I ended up doing when I got out of school, because, you do all these internships for part of the broadcast communication program. And the jobs they had available at the time were photography jobs. And it was easy to slip into those. And that's what I did. I ended up working in the Seattle and the Spokane area as a news photographer, videographer, really, for a couple of years. And the weird thing about that was that when you're working in news, it's like all consuming. It is because it is. It's all consuming, and you're working a lot. A lot of overtime. Just you're constantly working in news and thinking about it and watching it, and but one of the things about it that was so cool and that I'm perpetually grateful for is that when you're working in news, you're dealing with people both all, all on their best days and their worst days. So you're seeing like the whole spectrum of human experience. And for a writer, I mean, because that was still my whole thing, my whole perspective, really. I never kind of changed wanting to do that. It was invaluable because you're just seeing such a huge range of perspectives and emotions and experiences. And I ended up being on, the early Green River Killer cases where they were finding bodies and stuff. And I ended up just being on a lot of like very informative things. So as a writer, it was just you're just gathering all this kind of information and
So many
experience.
stories out there.
Yeah, it was fascinating. And
Sure.
after, it became clear to me one day when all the photographers were sitting around trying to, they were talking about how to light something, some show. And I realized, wow, I don't care. I just don't care. And I thought, okay, this is not the job I should be in
Your
because
aha moment.
yeah, it was an aha moment for me. And beyond the fact that weird things kept happening to me, like people would I got all the equipment stolen out of my van one day and
What?
somebody yeah, weird, huh? It was parked outside of a story we were doing. And when I came back out to get the equipment, they had broken in and taken everything.
So this was your personal equipment, not owned by
Oh, this
the.
was the news. This belonged to the station.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then another day it was traffic jam on the freeway and I was parked and some guy came like screeching down the freeway and like crashed into the back of the news van. So like weird things kept happening
The
to me that
universe
didn't
was
like
talking
happen
to
to other
you.
people.
Well, the
That's
universe was very
exactly,
loud.
yeah, that's kind of how I took it. Like the universe is talking to me.
Get out of
Wow.
here. That's
I
what the universe
quit.
was saying. We're waiting for your books.
Yeah, we're waiting for you to, pay attention. And so I
Absolutely.
quit. Actually, I took a job as a waitress, which is where I met my husband. And
Oh,
Oh, look at
yeah,
that's the reason.
yeah,
That
that's where
is
she
the
was meant
yeah,
to be.
reason.
yeah. It's just like so many weird things, that happen in your life. And there's like a reason for all of them. And I just started, I said, I want to be a writer and this is what I want to do. And from the time I decided that I wanted to be a published writer, it took me 8 years and five full manuscripts before I sold the sixth one.
Wow.
And the sixth one sold because, I was entering contests. I had an agent actually from my first manuscript. I had
Hmm.
sent it out and I had an agent. But it was finally when I decided, I I was getting good rejections. I was getting, I was finaling in contests. I was doing all that kind of stuff. But I finally had this another epiphany, which was if I never published, if no one ever bought my book, would I keep writing? And I
Mm.
thought, well, yeah, I've been kind of writing stories. Even when I was working in news, I was writing in my free time, what little of it was there was. And I finally thought, yeah, I would. I can't seem to stop. So yeah, I would keep doing this. So I thought, okay, I'm going to write a book just for me. I'm going to write, and it was about it was a historical romance, and it was called A Candle in the Dark, and it was about an alcoholic and a prostitute.
Oh,
Oh.
goodness. Okay.
And I thought, there's no way this book will ever sell in the
Yeah.
market the way it is. But I thought, but I want to write this. It's like really about two people for whom love was their darkest moment.
Mm.
Like that it was a challenge.
Mhm.
And I sold that book and it won the what it won best first book at the Romance Writers of America.
Wow.
Wow,
Yeah, that was the
congratulations.
book that sold. But yeah, 8 years, 6 manuscripts. And it was finally a book where I thought, there is no way anyone is going to buy this. Because it was like, kind of, I don't know, say the book of my heart at the time.
Yeah.
You know?
Just when you're not looking anymore. It's kind of like, when you're dating, for
Yes.
example, and you're not looking, and then all of a sudden, bam.
Yeah,
There
it's
he was.
exactly how it is. It's exactly how it
Wow.
is.
So
Yeah.
from that first book, from that first experience and your first books to the Vermilion Sea now,
Mhm.
that entire I guess road, what have you found your biggest lessons to be as an author?
I think the biggest lessons for me, and I tend to be this author who I tread this difficult road sometimes because I always write what I want to write now. I mean, that was the lesson I learned then. And it's not always like there are smart ways to be in this business and there are stupid ways to be in this business. And one is, okay, so if you have a choice between writing a book, say, let's just throw out let's say World War II, Paris, okay, and Hadrian's Wall, ancient Rome. And those two things are both equally enticing to you, right? Then pick the one that's smart, pick the
Right.
one that is, Hadrian's Wall is probably not have a huge audience waiting out there for it. But World War II Paris is probably an easier sell. So
Correct.
that's the thing that you learn being in this business. However, what I will also say is there is almost no agent on this planet who will say to you, write the smart book instead of the book you want to write. They will all say, write what you want to write. If it comes down to it, write what you want to write. Write what you're feeling. Because that book is the book that all of you
That's your soul.
yes, your heart is in.
Yeah.
And they can tell the difference. People can tell the difference. So,
That's an interesting take too, considering how you know they they want to still sell the books that they pick up. Publishers still want to sell the books. It has to be marketable. The branding has to be good. The storylines have to fit with what's hot right now. So that's an interesting.
It's a weird business. It's a weird business because it is a business, and you will discover that it is a business. They'll say, we don't know where to sell this. We don't know who to market this to. It isn't like your last book. It isn't, I mean, that's the story of my life. It isn't like your last book, and your last book didn't sell, so we want something different. Whatever. They have a million reasons to say no. But the problem also with this business is it's hugely subjective. So at the same time, it's like this business. We want the numbers, we want the algorithms, we want all this kind of stuff. Nobody knows what's going to sell because it's all subjective. Somebody can love your book, love it, love it, love it, like be obsessed with it. And the next person who reads it can be like, man, I can't stand this book. I couldn't even finish it.
Right.
I mean,
it's just like music. It's a form of art.
Yes,
so it's
it's
just up to the
Yes, so you have to go
for it.
into it knowing that that's true. And that means that when you write a book, you have to get everything you can out of the process of writing it, of researching it, of writing it, of editing, of just being with the book. Because once you turn it out to the public, once it's published, it's not yours anymore.
Right.
And
that's kind of scary.
It is kind of scary.
Yeah.
But if you can't let go of it at that moment, if you can't say, oh, it got a 5 here and a 1 here in terms of reviews, and that's okay, then you're going to make yourself crazy. You will literally
You're in the wrong business.
You are in the wrong business.
And
it's
Megan,
really hard to do.
Have you experienced both the indie world, like self-publishing, and then working with a publisher or with an agent?
I have been traditionally published all of my career. I have I have these old historical romances before I switched over to historical fiction that I got the rights back to, and I have indie published them. But for me personally, and the world is changing so fast, and traditional publishing is closing up very quickly in terms of just limiting what they're buying and how they're selling it and that kind of stuff. So they are, in effect, forcing more and more people into the independent market.
Yeah.
Um, I I went traditional from the start, mostly because the independent, I mean, this was like what? I hate to say this, like 40 years ago.
That's okay. We got
Um,
40 years on us too.
yeah.
And then some.
And it wasn't really, the independent or the self-published world wasn't really the way it is now.
Mhm.
And so that was really the only option I had. But there, the problem for me is that I don't have the energy to be a business person on top of it, which is why at the very beginning I wanted an agent. I didn't want to
Yeah.
handle all the business stuff at all.
I could see that.
I just wanted
Mhm.
to write. That's
Right.
still all I want to do. That
Well,
doesn't
I think most authors just want to write too. It's
Yeah.
hard for an indie author just to be doing
Yes.
everything. Yeah.
It's hard to do the marketing. It's hard to do the social media. It's hard to do,
Mhm.
and the thing is how much is that stuff working anymore anyway?
Right.
There's so much of it.
Mhm.
I don't know. I think this industry changes all the time, and for the authors in it, it's kind of crazy making because you're never sure. There's no way really to quantify how what you're doing is working or whether it's working. There's
Or
no
whether it'll work. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you
Yeah.
just get to throw it out there and say, well, this book tanked, this book sold. I have no idea why. Is it content? I mean, you can make yourself crazy with these questions.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah. And I've heard, or we've heard that the industry's changed so much. So like what you were saying, that they're sort of like closing ranks because they want to see that so now they're more likely to pick up indie authors, but based on their eyes and ears. So the people
Yeah.
who their followers, how much traction they're getting, the reviews on Goodreads. Like, so if you're doing really well as an indie author, you're more likely to get picked up as a publisher versus just coming in there blind and being like, hey, I got this new book, read it, so it's shifting, but it's a new type of hard.
And it's
no, I
so
agree.
different.
Yeah, I agree.
So fast paced, the changes.
Mhm.
And this is the other thing too. It's like for example, the search engines and stuff, they're changing as well. So instead of now just picking up mentions of wherever you are, like your web page and stuff like that, they're now changing. So they're looking for where your reviews are, where your mentions in podcasts, where you're mentioned in other places to sort of bolster, where you are
Your
on
book's worth.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
terrible. So as a writer, as an author, moving to a better topic,
A lighter topic.
A lighter topic. What does a day look like for Megan? What does a day look like?
A day look like? Yeah, well, I wake up and sometimes it seems like, and I actually do some kind of exercise in the morning because I need to loosen up my body for sitting down all day. And then, around 10:30 or 11 o'clock, I go out to work and I work, all day in my office. I have a separate office from my house that's in my backyard. And I work. I essentially work, well, every day except for Sunday. And mostly I do that because I just find that personally easier because it's harder for me to get back into a space, that kind of mental space if I take too many days off. Everybody's different. Everybody can do what they want to do. But what I have found over time, because I have two children, they're grown now, but they were once very young. And I discovered that what I had to do sort of expanded to fill the time I had to do it.
This month on Books and Martinis, we're shining the spotlight on an author bringing the thrills.
And all the chills.
Maya Gawani and her book, My Roommate is Trying to Kill Me.
Hi everyone, I'm Maya Gawani Shabbat, and if you love suspense, twists, and a story that keeps you side-eyeing your own roommates, this one's for you.
Trust us, you're gonna want to sleep with one eye open after this one.
Tune in all month long as we dive into Maya's work, her writing journey, and the story behind the chaos.
Cheers!
So like when the girls were little, I would write during their nap times. And I would get really as much done during their nap times as I would when they were all day at school. It's just, it's just
Finding
about
the time.
focus, So it was just like if they were, if they were at half day kindergarten, I got everything done in that couple hours they were at half day kindergarten. If they were at school all day, hey, they were gone 6
And
hours.
now that you don't have the distractions of the young children and you go into your space, do you find that you just sit there for X amount of hours, or do you block yourself? The last author we were interviewing was telling us how she does 25 minutes and then she gets up and she'll do something. She comes, the sprint. So she'll do 25 minutes.
A lot of people do that. I just sort of sit there and stare at the page. I have found that if I can write 5 pages, I can write 10. I have to get to the 5-page point before I kind of hit any kind of flow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that's just how it works for me. So I think actually the older I get, I think the more that's changing because I just think that's changing. I think I've become more efficient, to be honest. That used to be always the thing. I didn't stop for the day until I'd hit 5 pages. Because if I hit 5 pages and I couldn't go further, that was going to be it. But I didn't until I hit 5 pages. I wasn't going to hit it until I hit.
You were committed to 5 pages.
Yeah. But now I'm a little bit looser about it all. So.
And now that, sorry, go ahead.
Do you find that you're more organized now, or you're just, more of a pantser? Because you've been doing it for so long and you're in a rhythm. How do you gather yourself, and how do you manifest, I guess, your writing? Is it just spur of the moment, or are you just organized?
My agent now is very she wants a synopsis before I start anything. She wants to be able to look at it and say, okay, I can sell this or I can't sell it. So we work a synopsis a lot. So I think for the Vermilion Sea, she helped me brainstorm that book. And then I wrote a synopsis for it. And I think I went through, I don't know, she makes me work those synopses really hard. And I hate writing synopses. I really hate it. I don't know an author who loves it. But I think I wrote, I don't know, probably 4 maybe. I've written 6 or 7 before. And so the whole synopsis is laid out. So I have the whole synopsis. But that doesn't mean I follow it. I don't. Essentially, I keep in my head like the beginning, the quarter point, the halfway point, and the 3/4 point. And I know I'm writing towards those points, but I don't really know how I'm going to get there. And the synopsis doesn't seem to make any kind of a difference about that. Because once you get on the page, the characters morph and change, and everything sort of morphs and changes. Mm-hmm. And so I can try to follow the synopsis, but it never ends up being that way. And so for me, and that's been the process I've followed kind of forever. It's sort of like a half plotted, half not, because I do know what I'm working towards at these certain points. But like how I like to leave room for weird things to happen, where like I can write something and go, I didn't know that was going to be there. And then you have room to sort of move around it, And I like it when that happens. I like that sort of thing where it's like, wow, that's weird. Okay.
The characters take their own
Yeah.
path. That's
Yeah, they
wonderful.
do. And, it used to be back in the day, I would write these big character bios and like what I called emotional outlines, where I would have the emotions of the characters um, all planned out throughout the book and stuff, their arcs. And I discovered that it was like once I kind of wrote it down, it would be in stone and I would be fighting it the whole way writing the book. And
Instead of letting it develop
yes,
organically.
yes. And it was so frustrating. I would be like, no, he's not supposed to be doing that. He's supposed to be doing this. And it became self-defeating, you know.
Sure. You were fighting the character.
I was
The
fighting
character
the
had its
character.
plans. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
instead
could
of
see
letting
that.
it develop
So,
organically.
And
so
you
it
have
sounds like
you
we
have
talk over each
so
other
much
so much.
all the time. You have
So,
so much experience. It's so valuable
yeah.
to any aspiring author. With all of this experience, what is the one advice you would give anybody that's starting to write, or an author that's only had one or two books and they're struggling to find their rhythm, which you've clearly had for some time now? What's that one advice you would give them?
You know, find a group, find a uh, find a find I want to, it's companions, it's not the right word.
Support?
A
Find other
community?
people, a
A
community.
community?
Find a community. I mean, the thing is back when I was first struggling, and my grandmother said to me, and she gave me the best advice ever. She said, join a group. And I joined back then Romance Writers of America, which I'm not a member of anymore, but then, and I think it's kind of fallen apart in the meantime, but back then, it was the most valuable thing I did. They taught me how to uh, be in the genre. They taught me what to expect. I went to workshops. I went to conferences. I networked. It's where I met all my first three agents. I've had many, but the first three agents. It's where I met all of the editors from there. It's where I met all of the friends that I still have now who I network with. It taught me an enormous amount. And the thing is there are many, there's mystery writers, um, there's science fiction and fantasy writers. There are all these groups out there that have local chapters that you can join, or they have online chapters, or you can join writing or book groups at all bookstores have them. And start networking, start meeting the people who are going to be your partners and your friends and your counselors throughout this journey, because you know what? It's really hard. It is not an easy journey, and you're going to need support from, and the adjunct to that is get out when those people start being not helpful, because there are plenty of times when that happens too. If you're in a critique group and they aren't being helpful, you find them being mean, or you find them being counterproductive, get out.
Right.
Join
If
a
it's not
different one.
bringing you value.
If it's not bringing you value, get out.
Right.
I mean, I've been lucky in that my best friends are also writers who I met a long time ago, and we've all grown together, and they've been very supportive. So it is, it's something to look for and find. And when you find it, it's invaluable. But it takes some effort to maintain it, and to, it takes effort on your part to be as helpful to them as they are to you.
Absolutely. I love that. That's
You
great
know,
advice.
I would love to know more about your agent process. So you've been doing your 20 books deep. Have you had the same agent this whole time? Have you switched
No.
No,
agents?
she just mentioned, right? You've had several.
I've
Yeah.
had several agents.
Yeah. So how did that come about? How did you meet your agents? Did you query?
Yeah, in the beginning, at the very beginning, I queried, and that's how I got my agents. The the next couple I met in person at conferences. And the agents that I've had have all been, I think with the exception of very few, one exception maybe, they've all been mutual partings where people were either closing, one of them died, unfortunately. I know.
yeah.
The others were they were either leaving or closing their agencies, or they, like, for example, when I moved from historical romance into historical fiction, it was where they didn't feel like they had the contacts to take me further. And so they've all been very amiable partings, you know. But it's about that really. It's about, when you feel, I mean, agents are supposed to be your guides, your business partners, your and so
Your representatives
your
for the
representative.
world, right?
Yes. And so when it's been very much like when I didn't feel like I was getting the representation I needed, or when I was falling through the cracks or whatever, it would be time to move on. And so everybody, I don't believe in burning bridges, or there's nothing, I mean, again, these people become friends, but it's also a business,
Mhm.
Right.
and you have to, it's a strange line to walk, but it is an important one. And so, yes, you have to know when it's time to sort of move on.
That's great advice.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times it's the art part of the writer
Mhm.
that kind of fights itself with the business part of it. Because to write a book, it's a work of art, it's a work of love, and it's a labor of love. So that's completely different from a business perspective. When you have a business, you think, okay, 9 to 5, I sell this, I made this, and I move on. And when you're writing, it's like, oh, all this love is put into pages, and they're gonna love it, or you're gonna be devastated if they don't love it, and it's so different. So I think you battle two different monsters, right?
You do all
And
the time.
yes, and so I think the networking part where you're in a community of like-minded individuals has to have incredible value. So
It
that's
has
really good
incredible
advice.
value because everybody's in the same place you are, or in different places where you can observe and see kind of what's going on. So it's like a school, really.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and you
That
could, I would assume, learn from others what
yes,
didn't work, right? Like, okay, well, he
yes,
did that and that did not work for
yes,
him, so I'm not going to do that.
yes, and I mean, it's to have that kind of a community is just so valuable. I can't overstate it. Especially if you can find one that is, a lot of give and take, that is supportive and is honest with you. I mean, the thing about money in America, I guess, or in any place really, is we don't talk about it. And we don't talk about, okay, what are you making? What was your contract here? But this is all sort of really valuable information. And so you have to get into a place where people are at least somewhat honest with you about what is working, what isn't working, like you said. And it gets to the point too, like what I was saying, where an agent, you're always wanting to say, you always want someone to pin it down. What should I write next? What should I have these ideas, which one would be better, which one would sell better? And your agent's response almost always is going to be, write what you want, and I'll try to sell it. And which is so frustrating.
It is
Yeah.
frustrating
But
considering.
it's absolutely the best advice.
Sure.
It is like, yeah, write what you
You
want,
have to
put your
feel it.
heart into it. And so, I mean, it's like I said, it's a frustrating business because it is both things. It is both art and commerce, and you can get hit constantly with, your last book didn't sell, we can't market this book, we don't know where to put it, and that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
And of all of your books, which has been your favorite?
Besides your latest,
Well, yes, I do like my latest. It's very fun. It was super fun to write. My favorite would be either, mm, it's hard. It's like choosing ch children probably, but
They
I
won't
would
know.
say, I know. I would say I love Inamorata, I love A Drop of Ink, and I love A Dangerous Education. I think
Ooh.
those are probably my,
There's some really good titles.
yes.
And can you tell the listeners a little bit about your latest work of art, The Vermilion Sea?
And what
Yes.
inspired it?
Well, the Vermilion Sea is about it's set in the 1920s on the Sea of Cortez or the Gulf of California, whichever one you want to call it. Um, and it's about a marine biologist, a female marine biologist who gets hired to collect specimens on this luxury yacht. And they are, and the whole thing goes terribly, terribly wrong. But it was based on William Vanderbilt, who used to go out on his yacht, the Ara or the North Star, and he would take teams of scientists with him along with guests, who were out for a luxury vacation. And they would collect specimens for his museums and
Oh, that's
his home
interesting.
and stuff. Yeah. And I mean, he has huge log books and exhibit books and stuff of the things that he collected. And so it's all outfitted for scientists and stuff, but it's also people who are on this cruise for just drinking and dancing and,
Having a
game
good time.
fishing. Yeah. So, but yes, and they're out there, and it's like a kind of a gothic horror light kind of book because things do go very terribly wrong.
Very south.
Yeah.
Yes. What inspired you?
I had written with my sister, who is a art illustrator,
Okay.
a middle grade book. It never got published. We were just playing around with it because she knew these people who had gone sailing on the Sea of Cortez and had rescued a whale and her calf from fishermen's nets.
Oh,
And so
wow.
so we had put together a story about this, and I had given it to my agent and said, "Can we do anything with this?" And uh, we decided not because I didn't want to be a middle grade writer. But she said, "But man, the Sea of Cortez, and you've got some really cool stuff in here. Would you consider like writing a book set there?" And we sat down and we were just talking, and we ended up sort of spooling out because there's a lot of really spooky, mysterious stuff about the Sea of Cortez. It's really known for its mirages, for its weird weather, for some strange creatures that have been found there. It's kind of a creepy place. And it just spun itself out into this just
Yes.
really cool story.
And we don't want to spoil it for anybody, but
No.
it
But
is.
yeah, but it is really interesting. I want to know about Billy. So, where'd you
Yeah.
come up with the character and her whole arc in the story
Well,
without revealing too much?
Well, because I wanted it, because when I sort of read about William Vanderbilt, and
Mhm.
I started thinking about a marine biologist and, a collecting mission. And I started doing research on, were there female marine biologists in that period of time? And I started doing the research on women scientists in that period and sort of everything that they came up against, all of um, the fact that getting schooling was difficult,
Mhm.
that once you did get schooling, finding a job where you could move ahead
In a
was
man's
was
world.
yeah, it was impossible. And the fact that they were essentially delegated to be research assistants for most of their careers or not even adjunct professors, assistant professors,
Mhm.
and that essentially, their mentors, the men who were above them, were using their work without accreditation.
Yeah.
So most of them were like female scientists at the time, if they wanted to get ahead, were going into new fields, like they were going to zoos, they were going to domestic science, they were going to, these new fields, because you couldn't get ahead. You couldn't in academia, in government work, in research science, you could not go anywhere. You were stuck.
Which takes me to the book Lessons in Chemistry.
Yeah, it's the same. And so I just found that, I've been writing stories about women's history throughout my whole career. And, I've been stunned by the fact that there's so much that women don't know about their own history and how different it is from history, from like men's history, right? What history is written by the victors, right? That old saw, but it's true. And, to see, I've always been a firm believer that if we had allowed women and minorities the freedom that white men had, we would be so far ahead.
Oh, evolved.
Would have, yes, I mean, the cures for disease, for cancer, just it boggles my mind.
Endless.
And so I have to find ways to show that in my fiction wherever I can, which is just like, guys, the brilliance that we've just suppressed over centuries.
I'm so glad that you do that too. That's important to point out.
Yeah.
It's like we lock up the brains for absolutely no reason, just because of color or gender.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's crazy. And the opportunity that, oh God, it's
that's a whole other podcast. We can talk about this for 3 days.
Right? Talk about that forever.
I would love this. I would love this. So Megan, what is the best way that our listeners can find you and your amazing books?
They can find me at www.meganchance.com. That's my website. Okay. I am also on Instagram at Chance Author. I am on Facebook at Megan Chance Author, and I'm on Threads at Chance Author. And my books are available pretty much on any. They're available you can order them at most independent bookstores if they don't have them in stock, and you can get them at all the others: Barnes & Noble, Amazon, all the others.
Pretty much all the platforms have it. That's wonderful. All right. Well, we encourage all of our listeners to pick this up to learn even more about you and your writing style and your storytelling and the beauty of the story. And what do you want to say, Priya?
Well, thank you so much.
I feel so bad.
Don't feel bad. Thank you so much for being our guest today, Megan Chance. And your amazing book, Vermilion Sea, is out. You guys make sure you check it out, download it, purchase it, support Megan's books. She has 20 of them, 20 amazing books. And, follow her on social media. Thank you so much. Let's do one last cheers.
Thank you so much for having me.
Success. Of course.
It's our absolute pleasure. Cheers. Drink for good luck.
Salute. Guys, make sure you like, share, follow, subscribe. We'll see you in the next episode.
Absolutely. See you on the next one, guys. Bye.
Bye.